Debates.
That someone else took a shit all over the stage.
Yeah.
Both Starmer and Sunak.
What do we think? Top line thoughts?
I thought Sunak actually came off quite well at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I think it swapped. But both, to me, were... You know, it wasn't like the taking part that counts. It was the choice of who was there, both being dismal. I should have worked that one out before I said it.
51-49 according to you, Gov.
St Comrades was different, or Savanta?
Yeah, that was that this morning?
Yeah.
Savanta has...
So the Starmer one.
Savanta has gone with Keir Starmer 44%, Rishi Sunak 39%.
What's the other 17%?
Probably for Julie. Or Janet.
Gentlemen, please.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good line.
What do we think of the format?
I think it's bad. I don't think I don't know whether it's because of the people participating in it that makes it uninformative and bad, or it's the format itself that makes it bad. But I didn't think it was informative. I thought, yeah, limiting. It felt more like spectacle.
Yeah, and also the spin room stuff.
I actually quite like that stuff.
Yeah, I liked it too.
It's just like from The West Wing.
I loved the spin room, I'm afraid, Ed.
They're just playing it being The West Wing.
Did you see Johnny Mercer and Wes Streeting going at each other?
No.
Yeah, I thought that was quite fun. Yeah. Shall we try and analyse some of the substance in the debate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start with Miles from Ilford. We're gonna stick clips in, aren't we, Sean? We've got. Yeah. We're permitted. Okay. Roll the clip.
Like many young people, I completed my final years of sixth form under COVID restrictions, started university under them, and I've had to deal with a cost of living crisis, a housing crisis, and an unstable world. What future can you offer my generation, and when will we become your priority?
Thank you very much indeed. Keir Starmer.
Well, Miles, what I think is really important is that you have the further education opportunities that you need, whether that's university or technical skills. I think either are perfectly, they're equivalent, they're really important. My dad was a toolmaker, so he went down the skills route. I was the first, as it happens in my family, to go to university. So we would ensure that those jobs are there for you, for the future, that you have the opportunity to get on. We'll build the houses so you don't have to be, 30-something, 35, 36 before you own a house under this government. But what I won't be doing is sending you on national service, some sort of teenage dad's army, which would be what the Prime Minister would say. Forget going on to university. He wants to send you off to do national service.
Thank you very much, Keir Starmer. Rishi Sunak.
You know, we have an enormous amount to be proud of as a country, but we do need to do more to make sure our young people, like you, Miles, get the opportunities that they deserve. So that's why we will introduce a modern form of national service. And I think it's going to be transformational for young people in our country, giving them the skills and opportunities they need to succeed in life, fostering a culture of service in our society, bringing it together, but also strengthening our resilience and security for the future. And I think it is going to be something that's incredibly positive. But beyond that, I want you to have financial security. So when you get that job, when you save for that house, we make it easier, which is why I want to keep cutting your taxes so you can keep more of your money, build for a deposit for that first house, and not saddle you with £2,000 of higher taxes.
The most common living arrangement for 18 to 34-year-olds is living with their parents. Do the young need to change their expectations of home ownership now? Do we have to be realistic about this? The young people of this country deserve some honesty. Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, it is too hard to own your own home, and I want everyone to feel what I experienced when I got the keys to my first flat, because it's a very special feeling, and we need to make it easier. And that's why we've delivered 1 million homes in this Parliament, and we'll keep building homes in the right place, but not concreting over the countryside as Labour would do. But crucially, we need to make it easy for you to save for that deposit. And that's why I want your hard work to be rewarded. I don't think we should be taxing you more, because that's just going to make it even harder for you to get on the property ladder.
Thank you. Keir Starmer, on this specific point.
I think what you raise is really important, because for young people, the dream of home ownership has all but gone. The average age for owning a home now, Miles, is late 30s. That's shocking, because I know what your own roof over your head means for an individual. It meant the world to me when I was growing up. So we will build 1.5 million homes. Picking a number requires a plan. And if those homes are going to be built, we're going to have to change the planning laws to make sure we can get on with it. We're going to have to make sure our mayors and combined authorities have the powers they need to put the homes in the places. And we need to make sure the amenities are there, the schools, the health clubs, etc., to support those homes. So we've got a clear plan to deliver on the homes that will make sure, Miles, that you get that chance for the dream far earlier than you do under this failed government.
All right.
Ava, Miles from Ilford there, asking about young people. Do you think that Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak are treating young people as an important block of voters in this election?
Well, what's interesting is that Keir Starmer thinks that his pitch to let 16 and 17-year-olds have the vote is pitched to young people. But I think the category of young people is actually 18 to 34. When they were talking about house building, I thought it was fun that Rishi Sunak said that they've already built 1 million homes over the last parliament. And Keir Starmer said that he would build 1.5 million homes. Rishi Sunak also said that he would respect planning laws. Keir Starmer said that he would look at the planning laws again. None of that is going to help young people in the immediate future. You're looking there at possibly something that might help them in 5 years' time.
What should they do instead?
Well, sorry, I didn't realise that I was going to have to do party policy.
Well, no, I'm just thinking if you say, it's not going to help them now, you change the planning laws, that's relatively immediate, so you can stimulate house building. You should give grants to councils so that they can start building council homes, social housing. But obviously it takes time to build houses. There's not an immediate fix to this, is it? It's a process that's going to take time.
Well, what I would like to see is a commitment to that in the first 100 days. And I'd also like to see, if you're going to build homes in an area, a guarantee, a government-backed guarantee that they will only be allowed to be bought by new homeowners, first-time homeowners, and that they'll have a special government-backed mortgage scheme attached to them. That will mean so that they're essentially social housing, but they'll be owned. I like
that reserved for first-time homeowners, because I think one of the big problems is foreign investment.
Yeah,
it's external buyers, foreign buyers using British property as an investment, and I think anything that moves to limit that, good idea. Ed?
Yeah, I think also as well, this conversation shouldn't just be about housing in terms of what either of them can do for young people. In terms of they might eventually have a house in 5 years, but they still can't afford to go out and have a pint with their mates. It's not like they're going to be. They will be happier, but they won't be living life as they want. And I don't think either of them really reckoned with like kind of the the sentiment of just young people thinking this country is absolutely fucking shit. And if your only answer is national service,
which is actually what he said,
which is presumably, like, Miles is presumably too old to be doing national service, because by the time that's implemented, he'll be, I don't know how old Miles was, say he's 19, be 20, 21, so he won't be the one doing national service. And yeah, it just didn't seem like they were that desperate to appeal to people under the age of
was one of the moments
30.
Was one of the moments, wasn't it, when the audience laughed at Sunak, the first being when he was arguing about whether or not he's brought NHS waiting lists down or not. But the second, I think it was the second, was when he said, in response to this question about what you're doing for young people, he was like, we're bringing in national service. And they literally laughed at him.
Yep.
Which, I think it demonstrates, again, we've spoken about it before, that policy is not for young people. They can dress it up and say that it is, but it's not. It's for older voters. It's for older voters who think that the younger generation needs to be punished.
See, even on national service, even if people support it in the abstract, in isolation, I think there might be an attitude of, what the fuck are you talking about? Why is this a priority? In the abstract, yes, I think that would be a good thing. But also, what the heck? Like, Starmer said it, why didn't you do it 14 years ago? But also, why is that a priority now? How is that going to help me in any tangible way that my grandson has to go and give up his
fostering
weekends?
a sense of civic pride, Ed.
Well, I don't know. I do.
In the amongst young people who the target audience are not.
Quick follow-up. I know you said it's not just about home ownership, and you're right. But Julie Etchingham did follow up that young person question with a question about housing. And Rishi Sunak spoke of sort of his glowing pride the moment he received the first set of keys to his flat. Regular readers of the Daily Mirror will be familiar with a story from last year that revealed that he bought his first home with a 6-figure loan from his parents. So I'm not entirely sure if he can empathise with the experience.
What does that even mean, a 6-figure loan? What does that mean? What does that mean?
More than £100,000?
No, because how
Less than a million.
expensive was the flat?
Yeah.
Like when he bought it,
Would have been a while ago as well.
or did they buy it outright?
Could be pretty lumpy. It was deposit, but then the same story in the Mirror said that he's now mortgage free on all of his properties. But you'd expect him to be because
Well,
he's a
technically, I'm
multi-millionaire.
mortgage free on all my property.
No. You've got your landlords. You've got your landlord's mortgage.
Should we have another clip?
Yes.
Roll the clip.
I have worked since I was 15 years old, and at the moment I hold a full-time, stable job. My children have left home. In the last few years, I've found it very difficult to make ends meet, and the money simply doesn't go far enough. All I do is work to live. My food bill is nearly doubled. I'm in arrears with my bills. I spend my weekends batch cooking so I don't have to turn on my oven in peak times. My savings are gone and I'm genuinely worried about my future. I don't think you actually understand how this is for people like me. So what can you do about that?
Thank you very much indeed, Paula, for your question. Rishi Sunak.
Well, Paula, I know how much of a strain the last few years have put on your family finances, the family finances of everyone in our country. And that's why my priority has always been to do what I can to support you. That started with bold action, like the furlough scheme during the pandemic, and more recently, my clear plan to bring inflation back to normal. And now, our economy is growing again, wages are rising, and crucially, we are able to now start cutting your taxes. But I know you're only just starting to see the benefits of that, as you described. So the choice at this election is with my clear plan and bold action to keep cutting your taxes, to give you financial security, or put all that progress at risk with higher taxes, £2,000 worth of higher taxes under the Labour Party.
Thank you, Rishi Sunak. Keir Starmer.
Paula, I'm really sorry to hear the position that you're in. It must be really, really difficult on a daily basis. And there'll be millions of people watching this who feel in a similar position to you, that the cost of living crisis is really bearing down on them with constant worry. I'm not going to pretend that Ukraine and COVID hasn't made things worse, but this government has lost control. Liz Truss crashed the economy. They made it worse here than in other countries, and it's people like you that are paying the price, because if a government loses control of the economy, as they have, it's working people that pay the price. And Liz Truss's advisors are in the House of Lords. She's going to be a candidate at the next election. Rishi Sunak is putting her forward. We've got to stop this chaos, got to stop the division, turn a page and start to rebuild under Labour.
Paula from Huddersfield there, Ava, talking about batch cooking.
Yeah.
To reduce energy usage. And Starmer and Sunak kind of competing to tell the public that they understand how they're feeling.
I thought the opening answer that Rishi Sunak gave to her was his strongest. Do you know what I mean?
I thought it felt like the most pre-prepared.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I said this to you at the time. It felt like he had memorized it. I'm not saying he knew what the question was going to be, but it felt like he had, when the cost of living comes up, which will probably be the first thing, here's what I'm going to say. It was so manicured. It didn't have the rhythm, the meter of speech.
Yeah, it was rehearsed,
yes.
wasn't it?
Well, Keir was robust. He wasn't talking in a normal conversational tone.
But he also sounds like that all the time
as
well.
Does,
do you know what I mean? He has that. There's, I think I've spoken about it before. When you watch him interviewing Elon, his accent is completely different. He has it's kind of the international leisure class, right? It's the soft D on Party 30.
But he doesn't have it naturally. It's almost like he wants to adopt that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And in the same way, when he does his speeches, he has a different accent. And when you watch him, where was it? In the latest season of Clarkson's Farm, they go to Downing Street and meet him. And Sunak's talking to the land agent, Charlie, and Caleb, who's Jeremy's fellow worker on the farm. And Sunak sounds so much posher, so much plummier when he's in conversation with farmers at this event than he does when he's giving a speech, when he's at Prime Minister's
Who does
questions.
he think he is?
Yeah, social chameleon.
Well, he doesn't have any working class friends.
No, indeed.
So he had to go into script mode.
Jeremy Clarkson is his working class friend because he has a trade. He works in a trade.
I know what you mean. I find his mode of delivery, his tone of voice is very patronising.
Yes. Just seems comes across very disingenuous.
Yes.
I thought it's like you haven't actually. That's what I thought was clear. It seemed like I haven't listened to this woman in particular's problems. It was cost of living, pre-prepared speech. I don't think that is a particularly pleasant interaction.
Do you believe that Keir Starmer, when he says, "I know how it feels," Sir Keir Starmer, leader of the opposition?
Yes.
Do you think?
I do. He grew up in his family weren't massively well off.
Dad was a toolmaker, wasn't he?
Yeah, famously on an earth, but they weren't massively well off.
Owned the factory.
Have you seen his house? Have you seen his house with the boarded up windows?
What are you talking about?
His
He lived
childhood
in a
house.
Pebble Dash Semi in Surrey.
Have you seen the photo of his house?
I will not buy into this.
I mean, there's a photo of his house, and there's it's a house with broken windows. I think
Broken window. I've never seen a photo of that. I've seen a pretty nice
exists.
I'm looking for it now.
Yeah, I will happily stand corrected if
Broken
it is
windows.
if it's
I
a
think
shit hole.
90%
But he
sure it
didn't
was
grow up on an estate.
it was like a boarded up window. I do believe him. I don't think becoming a lawyer. He's now a middle class guy as a result of social mobility, but I don't believe that he didn't experience that as a child.
I don't think either of their backgrounds precludes them from having empathy and understanding other people's lives. Generally speaking, I think that's like a rule of thumb for any kind of political discussion. But when you're talking about the orders of magnitude of wealth that Rishi Sunak has, I do think it becomes a pertinent question when you're talking about someone who is a multi-millionaire, whether that person is able, there's an extent to which you can say, whether Keir Starmer was working class or middle class or maybe even, upper class now, and class changes obviously as people go through their lives, I think. But even if you're middle class, you have an understanding of what it's like to be working class, because let's say you live in a market town and you have friends who are from a different class background than you. But when you are literally in the type of circles that Rishi Sunak is in, working in the city, Santa Monica, being married to the daughter of an Indian business magnate who is worth billions of dollars, I think at that point you're talking about so much distance from everyday experience that it then does become a question.
And
That's
the
where I was going with
specific part where he was working in the city as well, because if he'd come up as a trader, stockbroker in the city, that's the working class route into wealth in the city, right? That's how they all come up.
There's a lot of boys like that in there, yeah.
Yeah, and that's an entirely different avenue from Goldman Sachs intern.
Yep.
It just is. It's totally different.
Well, yeah. I mean, Winchester boy, right? I thought this was the most important moment in the debate. I haven't seen many other people talk about it. I thought this was the most important one. Roll the clip.
Please raise your hand if I am wrong. You, as Prime Minister, will not raise income tax. You will not raise national insurance in the next Parliament. And other than Labour on private schools, you will not raise VAT. Thank you for that instructive moment.
So, obviously, there's a bit of spectacle, bit of theatre there, doing the old, will you put your hand up, will you, won't you? Nice shot of the two of them. That moment demonstrates the similarity in the economic prospectuses of the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. Because as Julie Etchingham runs through those tax policies and asks, will you change them? And let's be clear, the flagship headline taxes, right, like income tax, national insurance, we're talking about the taxes that produce about 60% of the tax revenue for HMRC, and neither of them plan to raise them. I think that is a demonstration of the degree of similarity between Labour and Tory when it comes to tax and spend, the redistribution of wealth and investment in Britain.
What Starmer, I think, couldn't get across yesterday, when Rishi Sunak was talking about the £2,000 extra that's going to be added onto our tax, I actually thought that was the most important part of the debate. I think that was the bit that I got quite a few texts from my not online friends saying, is Keir Starmer really putting our tax up £2,000? And people are going to reply going, no, you didn't. Well, I'll pull them up if you'd like. He didn't refute that at the time, because the reason he didn't refute it is because the answer is incredibly complicated. The assessments that were done based off of the plans, even a civil servant has actually penned a letter to explain that the sums done by the Conservatives are not correct. They haven't.
Chief Secretary to the Treasury, isn't it? Perm Secretary, yeah. Perm
Oh,
Secretary.
was it?
Yeah.
So they haven't correct. So what Labour have done is they've reallocated funding, and the Conservative costing has not factored that in whatsoever. That's not a soundbite answer that Starmer can instantly.
It's also Reagan, isn't it? If you explain, you've lost. It's like the second Labour go out and start saying, no, we're not going to raise taxes by £2,000. Here's the reason is this. It doesn't matter. You've got everyone who's listening is going, fucking hell, is Labour going to raise my taxes?
Yeah.
It's the same as it's exactly the same as Cummings 350 million on the side of a bus. Doesn't
explain it.
Doesn't matter. The second you start fighting it, all anyone is hearing is, are we spending £350 million?
You could have just went, that's complete shit.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.